We're going to be discussing Prime Minister's visit to Brunei Darussalam. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, thanks for being with us. So what are the economic prospects of increased engagement with Brunei?
So thank you very much for having me. I think Brunei, you'll have to put it in context first. I think it's a country to which no prime minister has ever visited before. And it might be a small country, but I think it is strategically located near the equator. Our essential interest has been that in 2000 or thereabouts, we did establish a tracking station in Brunei to track our satellites, which are launched from the eastern coast of India. And we tried to put in place a detailed cooperation on space. And that has taken off. And I think we now are trying to see if we can establish a working group on defense. And while Brunei is a small country, it's a very well-to-do country. They have a lot of resources. And I think we are looking at some advanced technology with regard to defense. Obviously, they don't make the usual tanks or the rifles and the guns. But I think it is drones and things like that where I think we can benefit from mutually beneficial cooperation. So that really is the thing about Brunei.
Right.
It is an important part of ASEAN, and it's quite odd that there has been no visit from a sitting prime minister for the last 40 years. This is the 40th year of the establishment of diplomatic relations. So I think the prime minister is doing well to make a visit there before he goes off to Singapore.
So you did mention space and defense ties, but why are these so important, and why, I mean, Brunei, you did mention ASEAN as well. I mean, they are a collective after all, aren't they, ASEAN?
Yes, no, it's important because satellites, as you know, gather information. And I'll be quite blunt with you. Brunei is an important part of ASEAN. But we are also trying to situate our relationship with Brunei in the context of Act East and further in the context of Indo-Pacific. And it would be interesting for us to know what other countries in the region are up to, China and some others. So this is an important aspect of the defense relationship. That is not the guns themselves, but intelligence gathering, information gathering. And I think if we can have a first mover's advantage with Brunei, that makes it so much easier to know what is happening in the region. There are 15,000 Indians. I would never have imagined that Indians have reached Brunei, but obviously you have Indians everywhere in the world now. So there are as many as 15,000 Indians. As I said, this is a very small but a very, very prosperous country. And I think it's a good thing for the Prime Minister to explore what we can do. They have the capital, they have the money, they have the geostrategic clout. If we can also merge that with appropriate technology from India, our engineers, and I know we're already training some people in space cooperation, I think that will enable the relationship to really go forward in the context of ASEAN and Act East.
Ambassador Mohan Kumar, Brunei hosts Singaporean and even British naval bases, even though ASEAN is a non-military alliance. So, I mean, is there, you know, a military component now that's increasingly emerging among ASEAN that perhaps we need to take more seriously in terms of defense cooperation?
Yes, absolutely. And I think the Secretary East, Mr. Jaideep Majumdar, in his talk to the press before the Prime Minister's visit, announced the establishment of an Indo-Brunei joint working group on defense. I was a little surprised, but I think the more you look at the location of Brunei and what Brunei has done in the context of ASEAN, it becomes clear that this is an area where there could be a meeting of mind between India and Brunei. So I would say defense, space, and advanced technology. Those are the kind of areas where I think we can cooperate really, really fruitfully with Brunei.
So the Prime Minister's visit comes at a time also when the World Bank has raised India's growth forecast to 7% for the FY25. What do you see? I mean, also ASEAN itself is one of the fast-growing regions of the world in terms of GDP. Do you see, you did mention that Brunei is also a rich country. What are the core economic elements that can be, that can emerge out of this meeting that Prime Minister is going to have tomorrow?
No, I think this is excellent news that India is growing. We have some issues with the jobs that are being created in India, or the lack of jobs. I think that's a different matter. But I think with regard to ASEAN, what I want to emphasize is that we already have an FTA with ASEAN, which I think, if you put it in context, should benefit both Brunei and India. We have an FTA with ASEAN, which is of long-standing date. We are trying to review the FTA, and in the context of ASEAN, Brunei does have some clout. So we will also be appealing to Brunei that, listen, help us review this FTA and make it contemporaneous. So that really is the challenge. We have an old FTA, but I think the FTA needs to be reviewed to bring trade and investment in line. More importantly, I would say that possibilities of Brunei investment in India should not be discounted. As I said, this is an extremely wealthy country, and they will be looking to invest in areas which can give them return, both political return and monetary return. And I believe that India can offer a useful destination for Brunei investments.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Mohan Kumar. Thank you for joining us here on the News Hour.